Welcome back, my beer-loving friends from all over the world. Thank you for being with us. I'm going to kind of go off the tone of the channel here and do a review, not of a specific beer, but a specific style of beer. Now, this is a beer that, in a way, I've had before, but I've never really had this specific version of this beer. Now, this beer is called a Radler, not a rattler, like you would think a snake. No, this is Radler. We're going to get into a little bit more of that. We're going to kind of talk about it and go, what actually is a Radler? So stick around. We're going to talk about the Radler style of beer, and we're going to do it on Okay, are you ready? Our special beer today is called a Radler. Radler happens to be a specific style of beer, generally in the Bohemia area, the Munich, Bavaria. Believe it or not, they do a version of it in England, and we're going to find out a little bit more about that. Now, I've never had this specific style, so we're going to look into that. We're going to see what they taste like, but I did want to go over a little bit more about the Radler style of beer. We're going to forego the beer through history and, of course, the beer specs. What the hell is a Radler? By the way, I'm reading off this from the AmericanCraftBeer.com website, so I've got to give them credit for that. The history behind the Radler style is almost as zany as the half-beer, half-fruit soda concoction itself. But to better understand the Radler, which was originally conceived in the Bavaria region of Germany, we start in the mid-18th century England with what was once known as Shandy gaff. Now, if you've ever had a shandy before, that's where that comes from. Naturally, it was shortened. Today, generally known as Shandy, a beer mixed with a soft drink, carbonated lemonade, ginger beer, ginger ale, or any variety of juice. I'm going to talk about that in a second too, by the way. The Shandy gaff was composed of 2 parts beer, 1 part ginger beer or ginger ale, and reached its peak popularity during the early 20th century in England, Ireland, Canada, and the United States. The interchangeable use of Shandy and Radler is perplexing, but they basically mean the same thing. One is English in origin, and the other is German. So if you've ever had a shandy like a Leinenkugel's or perhaps a summer shandy from Sam Adams, it's going to be roughly the same thing. I don't think they brew it the same way, but in general, it's kind of a loose definition of how to make a shandy. And I'm actually going to think about doing an instruction, let's say, on making a shandy coming up in one of my reviews here. So stick around with that one. The term Radler originates with a drink called Radlermaß, literally cyclist's beer or cyclist's liter, that was originally created by an innkeeper, Franz Kugler, in a small town named Diessenhofen. Again, I hope I pronounced that correctly, just outside of Munich. During the great cycling boom of the Roaring Twenties, Kugler created a bicycle trail from Munich through the woods, which led directly to his drinking establishment. On a beautiful day in June 1922, a reported 13,000 cyclists crashed Kugler's party. Fast running out of beer, he blended it 50-50 with a lemon soda that he could never seem to get rid of. And the rest is history. And of course, there's an English version of Shandy. Now, we're going to kind of overviewing, not reviewing, but overviewing a Shandy. Yes, I have reviewed Stiegl before. We're not going to review Stiegl the beer. We're going to review Stiegl the Radler. What I've got is a raspberry or Himbeer. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a Radler from Stiegl that's kind of raspberry. And we got a grapefruit. Now, which one to use? I'm not going to drink both of them today, that's for sure. And I think, let me see what the alcohol content is. Alcohol, this is great, 2.0% by volume. So, you could be riding, you could be bicycling, you could be walking, you could do just about anything and drink one of these as a refresher and be perfectly fine. So we're going to flip our little virtual coin here on our phone. Heads, it's going to be grapefruit. Tails, it's going to be raspberry. So let's see. Flip again. It is heads. So it's going to be the grapefruit. I know a lot of IPAs have a grapefruit flavor to them. I would actually rather, at this moment, have the grapefruit flavor than I would the raspberry. At the time of filming right now, it just doesn't seem like it would work. But I am going to get the grapefruit. I'm going to open it up here in just a few seconds. Now, I'm also going to drink it in my little plastic, I guess you say lager mug, something like that I got at one of these little festivals. I like to keep it because it's shorter. It's not my big, heavy glass mug that I have that's a ½ liter. But it'll work. How about that? So let's go ahead and open it up without any further delay. I love hearing that hiss, that fizz. Okay, now I expect it to be carbonated because naturally it's going to be mixed in with some soda, or it should be. So let's find out. We have to be real careful pouring it. And as expected, yes, we're going to have to be a little careful. And it even kind of looks like lemonade or grapefruit juice, but not pink. Get a little bit more glass proud there. Right, spot on. Oh, yeah, wow. I mean, I might as well just be cutting open a grapefruit, laying it out, putting a little sugar on it. Yes, I like sugar on my grapefruit. And then spooning out the sections. Let's take a look at it. Just like you would think any soda, it is just going to be effervescing all over the place. Wow, look at that. Just amazing. And it's hazy. Think of an IPA, think of a light IPA, think of something like a wheat beer, a Weiss beer, something up along that line. I could show you, I think, the color of it. The head's gone, by the way. I didn't really expect the head to stay because, well, it is kind of a mixture. That's going to be your color of the beer. Again, I'm not going to do the, beer judge certification rating, if you would. It tastes like a soda, which is good. I mean, that's what it is. It's half soda or a third soda and beer. And especially a light lager, something like that would be perfect. And Stiegl, as we know, had that lager. So if you're out and about, if you're mowing the lawn, you want something that refreshes you very quickly, this is it. Now, would I recommend it? Absolutely. For a good refresher. Let's say if you want to, at the beginning of a meal, if you just want to have something to eat with a meal or drink with a meal, have it. I actually saw a video one time where a German, and it was staged, but a German came to a German restaurant here in America discussing what he wanted with the server, and brought this really tall, like Stein. And that's really what you want to drink in it, is something tall like that. Really, what he was saying was, this is just something we just drink basically for pleasure. I mean, it's like a soda. You just brought me a large glass of soda, if you would. That's the first time I'd heard of this specific style. The second time was one of the bartenders there at a place I always go to, a little tap room. I was talking about Radler because we talked about Stiegl. And he said, have you ever had the Radler? Well, what do you mean? And he told me a little bit more about it. And then lately, I was over at another little tap room. A nice, cute little girl said, oh yeah, I went over to Germany and I had something and it was mixed with soda. And I'm thinking, she said, I think it was Radler. And I got to thinking, if you're really not into beer but want to drink something palatable, more along your taste, pick up a Radler. Or even, and we're going to talk about that in just a few seconds, but pick up a Radler. I found this at my little beer retailer over here, and she had the grapefruit and she had the raspberry, and She said, well, we've got them all. At least for those two. They only have these two styles in Stiegel. I would venture to say that you're going to find a little bit more. Naturally, you're going to find Leinenkugel's Shandy. You're going to have the, or I think it's lemon shandy is what they call it. The summer shandy. You've got a number of different styles that use the shandy version. And I'm actually going to be thinking about telling you a little bit of what my thought is and what I've done before. So I'm going to set this aside. This is great. I'm going to drink this for the rest of the morning here. And we'll talk about shandy in just a few seconds. So, as I was researching the Radlers and the Shandies, I've got to thinking, what if, just what if, you took and you mixed soda and beer? Now, I've kind of done this before. This is not something that you wouldn't do if you were like a new beer drinker. You're not really used to the taste. It can be a little bitter. It can be a little harsh. So what do? You mix it with a soda like a Sprite or a Mountain Dew or Sundrop or something like that. Something that's refreshing and gives you a little bit more sweetness. Something that's a little bit more palatable. And then you graduate from that to full strength beer. What I got to thinking is, what if you did this? What if you took a regular beer, let's say anywhere between a Yuengling and maybe a Rolling Rock or something like a Sam Adams lager, just a nice, not expensive. Take a soda and mix it. Now, there's a lot of sodas out there that are incredibly good. I believe Jones makes a brand. And what you really want to try to do here in America especially is get sodas that don't have a lot of high fructose corn syrup. I'm not a big health nut, okay? But I try to stay away from high fructose corn syrup as much as possible. I think it's not healthy, to be quite honest. And if that's the only thing on the menu, okay, I'll opt for a Gatorade. If you're in the grocery store, you can also get what they call Jarritos. I believe that's how you pronounce it. It's a Mexican style of soda that is made with sugar. So I would say, suggest getting that or some other natural brand of sugar. There's also, if you don't want sugar and you want something low carb, I guess you would say, diet, believe it or not, Walmart has a brand, and you have to look back in the soda section, that is I want to say it's either a NutraSweet or a stevia type of a soda. It's not expensive. It's like under $1 for, I guess, a liter. I'm not really sure about that. But if you can find a good soda that's more sugar-based, the Jarritos, the Jones, there's a couple of other ones out there, get them, try it. Get you a nice, decent lager beer and mix it with soda and see what you think. Now, one thing I'll do during the summer, and I haven't done this in a while, is I'll have Yuengling and I'll keep a little bit of orange juice in the refrigerator waiting. I'll take my Yuengling, open it up, pour it in my glass, because you really want to do it in a glass. You don't want to do it in the can. And then I'll mix it with maybe a shot or two of orange juice. Orange juice is more concentrated, so I know that I can get away with just a little bit less. You can make your own shandy, and I do suggest you try it because it's actually pretty doggone good. So that would be more along my line of making your homemade shandies. And there you go, folks. That is going to be my little take on homemade shandy. So stick around. We're going to close this out. Thank you very much. Stay with me. Well, folks, I hope you learned something new today. I've been drinking beer for 40 years, 45 years, actually. And I have never heard of Radler. I've heard of Shandy, of course, but I've never heard of Radler. And I wanted to try it. And fortunately, my little retailer there, here in the town I live in, had some, especially the Stiegel, because we were talking about that with my little friend over there at the tap room. Thank you very much for being here. I believe it's still over here. Remember to subscribe. Remember to ring that notification bell, get notified the next time I have a video out. Always like to hear from you. So leave a comment down below, see what you think. If you've got a Shandy recipe, right? If you've got something you've tried, leave it down there. Tell us about it. I want to hear this. Oh, and by the way, I didn't mention, in an upcoming episode, I do want to talk about mixing beer. Now, I'm not just talking about half and half. I'm talking about mixing two different styles of beer to give you a little bit different taste of that beer, or give you a little bit special. And believe it or not, a lot of tap rooms you can do that in. Thank you again for being here. I really appreciate it. Remember, we have our nice little spiffs over there. We have the beer review logbook. That's a little pocket size book that you can put your notes in, take it with you, write your experiences down, kind of keep a record of where you've been, what good tastes you've had. And of course, you've got the Beer Judge Certification beer score sheet. Now, I've got a little bit different one up here, and of course the link's going to have that same one there. Pull it down. I used to say along the side it's going to have some off flavor definitions, but that's going to be very helpful. Fold it up, take it with you, and if you're ever in the upstate of South Carolina, you have the Upstate Ale Trail. The Upstate Ale Trail is a little thing we put out here in the upstate to show you where all the nice breweries are. Definitely pick that up if you're in the upstate and you go to a beer venue, a little tap room, a little restaurant, and you see that in a little rack next to the door. Pick up one. Anyhow, thank you very much for being here today. And as I always say to everybody, Prost, Chin Chin, Kanpai, Salud, Slancha, and of course from America, cheers. It's too bad summer's ending. Anyhow, peace, love,